nucleus. Um, from a Pan-African perspective, of course. Today's date is February 28th, 2022, show number 4. And thank you for joining us on this global movement towards self discovery and empowerment, towards true liberation and freedom. All right, and this is what this whole movement is about here. And I am honored, and yeah, I'm honored to be with this young man right here. Um, this young man focuses on musical education and performances. He specializes in traditional African music and percussion from all parts of the world. Coordinates African music programs for youth and partnered with many schools in the tri-state area. And was hired and performed with local and international artists worldwide. I could go on and on and on about his accolades. You can hit his bio or Facebook or whatever. His lives are off the chain. This is what provoked this whole um, interview. Um, my brother, my comrade on this mission to eradicate the acceptance of inferiority in our people, my brother, Saantis. How are you?
How you doing, man? Thank you for having me. It's an honor for me to be on here, man.
Oh man, yeah, this is our fourth show, and what prompt this interview is I've been listening to your lives, man, and I'm witnessing your transformation, and it's absolutely amazing. Like it's like
Thank you, man.
um, I know you as the drummer of all drummers, um, so to see this other side of you is inspiring and empowering, and I just wanted to I think the platform will benefit from you sharing your stories, your strategies on how other men can accomplish the things that you're accomplishing. But I want to start with the drumming because the title of the show is the drumming. So
Yes.
my first question is, what called you to the drum?
Well, I was blessed to be raised in traditional African culture. I was raised around traditional Kemetic culture, Akan culture. So growing up in those circles, drumming is part of the male development process for boys.
Mhm.
It's part of that process. So you drum, the girls danced. It was a way to, build camaraderie with your brothers. It was a way for you to interact with girls in a, healthy,
Mhm.
seen, supervised manner.
Mhm.
And so I mean, it was just seeing, in the, you know, rituals or church, whatever way that people call this the same thing, but going to the services, the African services and seeing the drummers when you're a little kid and they were like the rock stars in the African community. I wanted to be a
Mhm.
musician. I wanted to do that because what the older men did. Also, like I said, and it wasn't because of like I wanted to perform. Honestly, I one of my things is performing is like secondary to me. I
Mhm.
really love doing more or less service music. Like I
Mhm.
love getting people music that helps to vibrate the divine part of their energy. Like if I can
Mhm.
play music that helps somebody get a revelation from the creator or get closer in tune with their ancestors, that was always the thing that got me more excited than 50 million people on the stage. It was like if I can get somebody, like in church to fall to the floor and wake
Mhm.
up and get back up inspired, or somebody's like, listen, I got in touch with my ancestor. That's the greatest high you can get as a musician. So for me, so that's why I did it when I saw that. And so, most of my musical drumming is actually not even seen. It's like I said, services. But
Mhm.
I was like, well, people outside can get that same energy, that feeling on the stage. You can bring that same energy to the stage,
Mhm.
Sandees. And it's actually needed more musicians that bring that type of spiritual and healing energy to the people who come to see them perform. So I decided maybe about 17, 18, around the 20s, early 20s to really start, okay, being a performer.
Okay. All right. So it was always like a tool of healing or a tool of evoke. Wow. And it's amazing because like I don't consider myself a drummer per se, right? I love music. Um, yeah, I consider myself more of an artist, and I can never understand the power of the drum. You know what I mean? Like I really couldn't understand it until like now, until being brother around brothers like yourself and Kamua, and yeah, it was just I didn't understand the healing aspect of it. I mean, I could see it, I could witness it. I couldn't articulate what was going on. I know I felt good. I saw people dancing and they was feeling good, and I saw the joyfulness in it, but I didn't take it as healing until I was educated about the healing powers of the drum. And so you learned that first, and then the entertainment, edutainment aspect of it came later.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's like, like you said, on a scientific level, it's an exchange of energy.
Hmm.
Like, all if you look at all of the places that, you know, we as black people congregate, there's this exchange of energy. And one of the vehicles is music. It's in
Hmm.
church, it's
Hmm.
in the club, it's everywhere that we go, whether it's intentional or not. We're always trying to incorporate music because it's one of our main channels of exchanging energy. And yeah, you definitely see the power of it. Like you said, even if you can't articulate and understand it, you see it. You see, like, okay, I'm drumming, and like I said, I've had experiences where I was literally at a woman who opened up a boutique, and we were just drumming, and it was a spoken word. One of the elders, she started saying some pieces. Then a couple of women came, and then they just started bawling. I mean, cry. Everybody's
Mm.
crying, hugging, and they were like, we were just having a good time. We're a sister meetup, and they came in to listen to the spoken word, and she's talking about, black woman, fix your crown and heal because you are royalty. And they were just bawling. They was like, what, this wasn't what we expected, but this is
Wow.
exactly what we needed at the moment. And they just, I saw how music and, like you said, the arts can just, what their purpose is to arouse emotional energy. Like, that's what the arts were made for by our ancient ancestors, to arouse emotion in a healthy, positive way,
Hmm.
not for other purposes, but to arouse and vibrate the God within it, to vibrate the higher self. And so it's beautiful when you see stuff like that. You just like,
Hmm.
wow,
Yeah.
we was just jamming, and it turned into a whole healing fest.
And that's so like, oh man, like it's so dope because it's just like I say, I never understood what was going on until I read, like I say, being around the likes of you and Kamua and learning traditional patterns. And it's like, no, this evokes this, and this. No, we play this rhythm in celebratory celebrations. We play this rhythm during weddings. We play this rhythm during. It's like, and I still didn't understand, but it's just like when you witness it, it's like it's absolutely, and to be part of that is amazing, bro. Like it's just I so love because I don't want to I don't want to diminish the art by saying, "Oh, I'm a drummer." I mean, like
No, no,
I
you
see.
don't.
Listen. Now I see what y'all do, and the hand speed and the coordination, and it's just like I'm nowhere near there. I have the appreciation and love for it. I don't have the tech. I'm not the technician. Like I give honor to the technicians of the craft because it's just like, yeah, I don't want to do disservice. I mean, I feel like I would be doing disservice to be saying like, oh, I'm a
Well,
drummer.
can I clarify some things, because like there's
Yes.
this perception. So like I said, there's different arenas of drumming. There's different
Mm,
arenas. There's different arenas, but there's also different parts of drumming. So there's the technical part.
mm,
There's the actual understanding of the skill, right? Like,
mm,
actually, like you said, the bass tone slap, the when the note's supposed to go, the
mm.
phrasings, the language of each
Yes.
rhythm, and all of
Yes.
that stuff. There's that, but then there's also the understanding of energy and mood and sensitivity. There's the actual, because like, music is governed in a lot of cultures by that Venus energy. And like I said, the root of art is emotional stimulation. The best artists are literally the artists that understand how to connect with a human being on an emotional level and know how to, in whatever art they use, how to create emotional response. That's the best artist. So yeah, you have the, like you said, the technicians. There's a technical side to it. I'm not going to diminish that, but don't think the technical side is more important than the emotional side,
Mm.
because a lot of times I know people who are great technicians, but then they don't have the emotional connection. And we can see that. Like we know people that, and we see it. Like there's comedians that become joke writers because they're good at technically writing jokes. And
Right.
they end up just being people who write jokes for guys who actually have nuance on how to be a comedian face to face, right?
Right. Right.
So both sides are needed, right? Both sides are needed. So I appreciate the people who have emotional, what's the word that they use in Western culture? Emotional um sensitivity.
Mm-hmm.
So that's big for an artist. That's big for a drummer too. Because like I said, if we put you in an area of, like I said, in an area where we're talking about drumming for, church ritual, spiritual, you know, settings, I want to ride with brothers that got that emotional feeling, that
Right.
feeling of, you know what I'm saying, that understanding of, okay, this is the mood right now. This is the feeling right now. This is what I'm seeing the people
Right.
want, and I'm giving that energy tenfold to them to take them higher, to take them to that place they want to go. Like Marvin Gaye. Marvin Gaye was a great technical singer, but that man knew how to pull an emotional string.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Yeah, buddy.
So
Yeah.
I appreciate both sides. Both sides are
Right.
appreciated the same way. You can't have the yin without the yang without the yin. So, I appreciate you too, man. And we're all learning technically, man. Trust me, I
Right.
look at people like Mama Decatur and people like that, and I'm just like, I got work. Like
Yeah.
we always got work. Even on the
Right.
emotionally sensitivity side, still got work. It's like, man, I'm always constantly trying to, you know, take it to the next
Right.
step, next phase. So I appreciate you too, man.
Yeah. Appreciate the education, man. It makes me feel better. I mean, because it's just like, because people like throw that on me, like, man, you're a drummer. And I'm like, eh. And I'm like, eh. You know what I mean? And it's like, now I can embrace it more, because I'm not the technician, and I'm more the emotional feeling guy, and that's my lane. Like
Yeah,
I don't want to be the technician. Like I like the
yeah,
technician. I look at it like, man, like that
yeah. As long
takes
as you got the base,
hours,
that's
hours.
all you
Yeah,
need is the basics.
I'm like, man, look, you got hours, hours, and hours and hours. That's not me. But as far as the emotional piece, that's me. Like I just love to see people in a joyous state, raising a vibration to where people can tap that divine spark in them to be inspired to do something they didn't think they can do, or didn't always wanted to do, but didn't have the courage to do so. And so that's my. So when did you start playing? When do you remember start playing?
Man, I feel like I've been playing since I was like 8,
Mm-hmm.
and so it started out in like traditional djembe, Guinea West African djembe training. You start out on the bell.
Right.
Then after the bell, you start out on the dun duns. And you don't start out just on the main dun dun, the biggest one. You start out on the
Mm.
kenkeni or the sangba. And then you work your way from the kenkeni sangba to the dun dun. Then
Right.
after you play the dun dun, then you play some accompaniment djembe. You sprinkle in some accompaniment djembe throughout.
Right.
It wasn't until maybe 25, 26, which is not far from where I'm age now, 28, that I started playing lead. Lead wasn't something that, was when I was younger.
Right.
I just started playing lead. I just started like the soloing, the leading, the that part came from me later, not because of ability, but more or less it's a comfortability. It was a
Mm.
courage. It was it was a getting to a point of being comfortable, in myself, comfortable with leading men, comfortable with, what I'm saying,
Mm-hmm.
the responsibility and the accountability that comes with playing lead, with being lead. It's not just, you know, kind of like traditional Western ideology of the lead person in the band, where it's like, I'm the face. It's not about being the face.
Right.
It's about, like I said, it's really like being a point guard. You know, at the point where I have to know everybody's part. I got to know where everybody's supposed to be. I got to know where
Mhm.
the rhythm's going. I got to lead the rhythm. Then I got to do my part on top to support the rhythm playing lead. So it's work, and it was, getting comfortable in that area. So it's only been maybe not even 10 years of me, really getting to that point where, I guess you can say I've gotten the entry level to master, or whatever the words that people put on me, getting there,
Mhm.
because it's a personal journey of development through drumming.
But see, you had the advantage too. You had that silent foundation. It was like you had the process. I mean, you had the
Yeah.
bell, then you had the do. I mean, so you had that process. Like I didn't have that process. I didn't have that. I just had the desire to learn. I mean, the desire to or the want to learn. And so you excel because you have mastered the fundamentals, and that's what the bell and you had the tutelage to say, okay, now you're ready to go to the next level. Okay, now you're ready to go to the next level. And so now you're at this space to where you're comfortable, which is a perfect segue to why this interview was prompted in the first place. Like I said, I've noticed like your transition. Like I said, I've known you as the drummer, but you had some lives where you was talking about facing your fears and punching your fears in the mouth and things. And then you came on a book.
Yes.
No, this is real though. This is real.
Yeah, it
And
was.
these are
I'm laughing because I said that.
yeah. And these things is like I know I have been doing my own personal work. And I know I had some traumas that I totally forgot about because part of the protection of fear is to kind of protect you from things that you're scared of and protect you from the things that brings you harm. Things that bring up the feelings of like inadequacy, right? And so I have done some really good, I made some really good progress, but just witnessing your shift and witnessing your transformation kind of want to make me to the point to where I want to rededicate or up the ante of
Mm,
my process, my healing process. And so I wanted to publicly thank you for that because it was just like that's pretty dope because I know this brother. I play with this brother. I mean, like we did events together. We did so many things together, and it's just like I'm watching them like, yo, I need to up my ante. So it's like the iron sharpens iron thing that we always hear. And so speak to that, brother. Speak to what
yes.
um what was the process of you would you say like you said 10 books in was it 5 6 years or something like that?
Yeah, yeah.
Is
I
your
want to
goal?
do I want to do 25 books before I'm 50.
Okay, I didn't
That's
know
the
that
goal.
one. I heard that like
Yeah, it was
10
10
books
books in
in like
5. It's 10 books in 5 years.
okay.
It's
So I heard
25
that
books
right, and
before
then
I'm
it was
50.
like
Yeah.
6 months you did like 2 books.
Yes.
So you
Now,
way ahead of the game.
so okay, so first and foremost, I want to shout you out. I'm glad. I'm happy. I'm always trying to make sure I congratulate people. Congratulations on your progress, on your self-development, your journey.
Thank you.
Let's acknowledge that first and foremost. Because I look like you're like an older brother than me, and
Right.
you have children that are older than mine. So I'm always looking to seeing, okay, well, he's handling and maintaining. Well, if that's through the midst of living in America.
Hmm.
So it's like if this brother can do it, I can do it. He's showing me, he's living it, he's giving me an example of it. So, a family and all of that. So I'm like, okay, so I'm watching, what I'm saying? I might not always say something, but I'm watching, I'm observing. I'm seeing that, okay, yeah, the world, he's making mistakes, but he's getting back
Hmm.
up, he keeps going. He keeps going. He's
Hmm.
not stopping. And so, like, I appreciate that example first and foremost. And
Appreciate it.
for me, it started in the last, I want to say like 6 years. The last 6 years is when it really started for me. And um it was a point in my life where And it happens, we got to just learn how to see the signs. We think, okay, our life is falling apart, or foundations or structures in our life are falling apart. But I always used to tell myself, foundations in your life and structures are falling apart when it's time to build new ones. You can't build a new house where there's already a house that's busted and beat up. So that was happening. It was stuff, relationship ending, you know, this area of career was starting to shrink up, such and so forth. And I got to the point where I really looked at myself and I was just like, I'm about 32 years old. I'm hitting the prime of my life. And I was like, the worst thing that can happen for me as a man, first and foremost, but then as a human, but as a man, is that I look back by the time I'm 60 or 70 years old and I wasted the prime of my life not doing and accomplishing the things that I really wanted to accomplish. And so, I put that energy out there. I was like, universe, I don't want to do that. And since I put that energy out there, it's been a blessing of people introducing me to books, introducing me to, because I want to write 25 books in 15 years, but I read a book a month. Like, my thing is I have to read a book a month. And for me, the two is usually self-development and finances. I really got to read a book every month on one of the two. It's just, I have to, because I can't stay stagnant. I have to grow.
Right.
Last month can't be the same Saantis as this month. And next month Saantis got to be better this month Saantis. And so it was just people, a good friend of mine who's a counselor and a spiritual educator. She was like, this book, The Courage to Be Disliked. That was the first book on the journey. Then it was, and that book just like opened my mind to a different thinking pattern. It was a pattern of accountability for self. And that's when I realized that most of my life I was living without the courage to be disliked. So many of us live this Western model of validation through other people. That's where it starts. And that's where the fear comes in, because we're scared to have uncomfortable conversations where we don't have the courage to meet our fears and go punch them in the mouth. Like you said, we kind of take the ostrich, approach, where if I stick my head in and act, or ignore, that's the big word, I ignore. And if you look up the definition of ignore, is to act like something is not there that is there.
That's there.
That's not a problem. That's that's delusion. So I was just like really just getting into it, and it was like, so to bring it to the books. Since I was a little kid, I always wanted to be an author. I always wanted to be a spiritual counselor. I always wanted to be a self-help expert, whatever you want to call it. That's what I dreamed of being since I was a little kid, a priest, whatever the word is. It wasn't a drummer, it was a priest. The drumming part came naturally. And then as I went through life, elders and priests would tell me that this is part of your mechanism to do your spiritual, to give your spiritual gifts. So keep drumming. So I drum. But for me, it was always writing. It was always, so I had these book ideas. These were book ideas I had back when I was 15, 16, because I was like, how come no one writes a book about this? How come no one wrote a book about this? So I would write the idea of the book down and I would just sit on it. But my idea was always in my mind because I didn't think I was valid enough to do it, because no one told me I was, you had the right to make these books. I always thought they were just going to be ideas I was going to give to somebody else. I always thought that these were going to be great book ideas that somebody else was going to write and do, and maybe I'll get credit or whatever. But then, like I said, a couple years ago, I was like, you know what? I want to write these books. And literally, I locked myself in a house for like a good 2 weeks, bought some groceries. Every time I like get in those modes, that's what I do. I'll buy groceries 2 weeks. I will lock myself in the house. I did it when I learned to do screen printing and started making the shirts and all of that stuff. I self-taught myself. I locked myself in the house for 2 weeks. It was just food and YouTube. And the same thing with this. Another part of it too is funny. I stumbled on a crystal. Shout out to Zola. I was at an event and it was this crystal on the table that just kept calling me. It was just like, I don't know what it is, but buy it. I bought it. I didn't know what it was, and I was just wearing it. That same 2 weeks, I was holding it every day, and I started googling what it was. It was celestite, and celestite is really good crystal for like getting in contact with your ancestors and that like divine, like connecting with the divine wisdom. And like I said, the information for those books, once I said I was gonna write them, just like
Wow.
flooded my head. It just flooded my head, and I literally since then the last 3-4 years it's just been flooding. So like I've been sitting on books for the last 2-3 years of just almost finished books, but it was like I had to get the courage to really be like, you know what? It doesn't matter if anybody likes my book or not. It doesn't matter who thinks I'm qualified to make these books. It doesn't matter about what anybody thinks. As long as Creator God said it's a go, it's a go. So that's been my mindset since. And then once the first book launched, it was over because I got the monkey off my back. I
Right.
it was over.
Right.
So now I'm fearless. The fear is gone. I'm if God says Saantis do this, he's doing it, whether everybody
Hmm.
likes it or not.
Wow. That's dope. Because I know a lot of times, for real, for a lot of times we think that we're not capable or not the uh, the scholar to profess being a teacher or sharing something. We are not the authority of our lives. And so once you get that, like you said, get that monkey off your back, it becomes easy. It becomes like a floodgate has been open. And so, like I said, man, I just witnessed your greatness. I mean, and I'm just witnessing the more you do it, the more it just becomes easier, and the more fluent it becomes, and the more, man, I can't even find the words. Like I'm truly like
Fearless.
yeah, fearless. Fearless is it.
Fearless.
And you said something about the Will Smith book. I'm reading that book now.
Oh, it's a good book.
Man, yo, I mean, like the first chapter, I read that joint, and I was just like, yo, like when he was talking about the wall, when he was just talking about the wall and how his father made him build the wall, and
Yes.
how he got the name Will, and it's not just the name, but it's the ability, the will to just do.
Hmm.
I'm like, and this is in the first chapter, bro. I
I
was
don't even
like,
want. I don't want to talk about the book because I don't want to spoil it. But that, I
uh,
mean, his life was
yeah,
a literal testimony of the courage to be disliked.
yeah,
So many of us deal with the fear. Like fear is the only threat. And I say this in my book, and I say this all the time. The only threat to your success and happiness is fear. It's nobody. It's no
mm-hmm,
person. It's not
mm-hmm,
a lack of resources.
mm-hmm,
It might be a lack of resourcefulness, but it's
right,
not a lack of resources. It is fear. That is the biggest threat to our success and happiness in our life because you can't. Where fear lies, there can be no happiness and there can be no success because you're killing that energy before it even starts, before the
mm,
the momentum builds, before the situation actually happens. And so it's just, I've seen it in my life, like my relationships. It was just living in fear. Don't want to have
mm-hmm,
uncomfortable conversations,
mm-hmm,
you know, don't want
mm-hmm,
to, deal with the realities that are there. You
mm-hmm,
want to just ignore them until they go away. They don't go away.
yeah,
It doesn't go away, especially if you keep asking. And the reality is, we're always asking the Creator to bless us.
mm-hmm,
But your blessings are always on the other side of a fear that you just got to punch in the mouth to get the blessing. They always there. So
mm-hmm,
you're asking God to give you it. And God is like, all right, got you. Say no more. Here. But it's a fear in front of it.
yeah,
And so,
yeah,
you got you can't step around it. You can't ignore it and try to walk it. You still bump into it. It's like a wall. You can't ignore a wall.
mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm,
we like it's that's the funniest part. We will use the ignoring ideology only in our life with problems. You can't ignore nothing else. You can't cross the street and ignore cars. You can't
mm-hmm,
walk in the buildings and ignore walls. But you think you're gonna walk in life and ignore problems?
mm-hmm,
Life is principle based.
mm, mm,
So
mm,
it was just, but that's where I had to get to. I had to
mm-hmm,
get to that. I had to accept that. And so, like you said, this journey of like that I call lately been my journey of manhood over the last 2 years is really just, you know, redefining it. And so like I have a big thing on my wall that says controlled monster. And that's my mindset now. It's like I'm controlling my animal. I'm not, you know what I'm saying? Like I walk my dog. I have a dog. It's a lion. It's crazy. And I motive, you know, when I need to point it in direction to accomplish something, the animal goes out, but it's controlled. It's not, you know, out here craziness, but that's what my mind is. It's, you know, I'm the, you know, the wise controlled monster that when I put my mind to something, I go beast mode and I'm going to get it done. Because at the end of the day, when I die, I want to die with zero regret.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that in all my life, I've written down a list of people, women, men, elders, whoever that I had to apologize to that in life that I look back and say, you know what, I made a mistake and I'm not clear if they know I did. But it don't matter about if they know or not. But I want them to know. It's for me. I want all the people in my life that I've, you know, made a mistake in a shared experience with to know this is where I made a mistake at. And I apologize. Wrote a list down. And I didn't wait because people die. You don't know when anybody's expiration time is. So I'm not waiting until, nope, call them right now. Call them right
Nice.
now. Call them. Oh, okay. They're yelling at you. Let them yell. Let them get it out. I just wanted you to know that this is where I made a mistake at. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I never wanted to waste your time, never wanted to do this to you. But you know, in life, sometimes the road to, you know, hell is paved with good intentions. But I'm sorry. And I've corrected it. So nobody else has to go through that experience with me again. Whether they accept that apology or not, it's not my that's up to them. But for me,
Right.
write me down, just a list. So it's just I'm just being aggressive in all my life. It's this really cool guy named David Goggins. He's a black guy. I love
Oh
his
man,
love David
dude
Goggins.
is a beast. Dude is a
Love
beast.
David Goggins.
I mean, I mean, yeah, yeah. I'm gonna just take
He's
the
a
drink to
controlled
that.
monster. That is the definition of controlled monster. I
To
mean,
do that training, to go through the training that brother has done and continue to do is insane.
all the every problem that you could think of, you know, father abused mom, they left, had to hide, living in, you know, Gary racist Gariana, I'm saying, poor diet, overweight, and it's like the only man in the world that, you know, did what Navy training, uh Navy, Marine, and whatever tactical training, and then
Yeah,
he ran over 10 ultra marathons.
yeah, yeah,
Has the world record for 4,600 push-ups and 17 out. Like the man is
it's-
intense.
yeah.
And
Intense is the
I
word.
appreciate that.
Intense is the word. Intense is the word. And I appreciate that because I'm now getting initiated into the Kemetic way of life, and they talk about the Ma'at. The whole basis of like BMa'at is to simply be those principles, to simply be those virtues that we all argue about and we all philosophize about, and oh, I know meta nature better than you, and I have been studying for 42 years, and so I am the authority in that. And I just simply said, if we just simply be these principles, that the world would just be a better place. And so
Totally.
that was just like the whole philosophy behind Be My Eye. And so I was like, how can I really um, be that? Like I'm saying be, I'm putting this declaration out in the world. I need to be an example of that. And so I have really introduction knowledge about my arts and things of that nature. And I just wanted to get really intense with it. And I said the best way to really get intentional about it is to um, study with someone that's a scholar in my art philosophy. So I've been talking to Baba Haru, Queen Afur's ex-husband.
Baba
But
Samaj, that's my
yeah,
man.
so I've been building with him, building with Anika and Jabari Asazi.
Shrine
So
Ma'at. Those are my
yes,
homies. I love them.
so I'm going through the initiation now. And so when you talk about right and the wrong, it's like balancing the scales of my art when you do that. Um, So when you get to that day of judgment, your heart has to be lighter than the feather. And the only way to do that is to recognize the wrongs and mistreatment and go into doing that. So I really appreciate the process you're going through, brother. And the fact that you're being the willingness to share um, and be vulnerable is huge. And this is why I was just even telling the brother, I was like, listen, I know I'm gonna mess up. And I didn't want to wait to become a Ma'at scholar to say, okay, now I'm ready to talk to y'all about my aunt. And it's like, if we truly talk about balance, we need to be living presently in it. I'm not going to wait and to be perfect, because then you're not an inspiration to anybody else. Then somebody else is going to have to wait, and you're missing millions of people by holding this information to yourself. And who knows? Like you said, your time might happen tomorrow, and you holding all that stuff in because you don't want to look um, um, imperfect. You know what I'm saying? And so I didn't
Yeah.
want to I didn't want to experience that. So I was just like, yo, listen, I'm going to broadcast this thing. I'm going to put it just out there. And if I'll make mistakes, you see it. And then you'll be, hopefully be inspired to be like, you know what, just keep on pushing, keep trucking, keep moving forward. I want to speak to the fears, because we talk about the fears, and it's like these blessings that we ask for, but the fears is there to kind of help you grow into the person that you need to become, to fully um, fully embrace and implement those blessings that you talk about, that you ask for. And
Mm-hmm.
so you don't have those blessings because you're not ready to have those blessings yet, to fully maximize what the blessings are. And so you have to be built up to a point to where you're able to maximize and be effectively use that blessing.
Yeah. So with fear, so like, okay, so first when I guess when we have the conversation of fear, I like to establish to people like, what is fear? So
Hmm.
fear is a signal from your body. Like if you
Hmm.
study traditional Chinese medicine, or a lot of different cultures, fear has a place, right? Fear's place is, you know, it is a lack of education on the subject, and there's reasonings for fear. There's
Hmm.
like 11 different reasons in the book. I go through the different reasonings for fear, right?
Wait, what book is that?
So the book we're talking about yeah, happiness is an inside job. Yeah, yeah, gotta shut this joint out.
Right, right,
And
right,
so in
right,
there, there's a chapter on fear, right?
right.
And so they've made life complicated. I'm a very simple guy, and I believe life is very simple. But my uncle used to always say, "Life is simple, and people make it hard." And when he said that, he
True.
never explained it. But what makes
Right.
life hard is the human mind will create, like you said earlier, it will create reasonings to
Hmm.
support whoever's in charge. So if your fears are in charge, then guess what? Or your emotions are in charge, and the emotion that you have is fear, then the mind's job is to give reasoning to why
Hmm.
we got to protect the boss, right?
Hmm.
So, like you said, when you're in a state of fear, your mind is going to give you reasonings why this fear is useful. And
Hmm.
at one point in time, that fear might have been useful, right?
Hmm.
But it's not useful anymore.
Right.
We got to get rid of it. So, what is fear? Fear is the body trying to tell you that you're not prepared for a situation.
There you
And
go.
how do we understand this? Because if right now someone told you you have to fight a 2-year-old for $1 million, no fear comes in your body whatsoever, does
Nope.
it? But
Because
I
you
say
feel
you got to
prepared.
fight Mike Tyson.
Hmm.
Does some fear might
Yeah.
kick in? A lot of people
Yeah.
fear might kick in. Well, you
Yeah.
know what? Or I had to fight Mike Tyson to the death. Does fear come in? Some people might. I don't know if I'm prepared to fight Mike Tyson.
Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Because why? Because you're not prepared. What and why might you not be prepared? Energy wise,
Hmm.
physically, from the body perspective, you're not physically prepared for the situation. Energy wise, your
Hmm.
emotions are not ready for it. In the sense of you're not in the right emotional state, or your mind is not prepared, which is your body trying to tell you that you don't got the right state of mind for this situation, right?
Hmm.
So that's why fear comes in. But when we understand fear in that perspective, now we understand fear is a mechanism of helpfulness. it's not a directing principle. It's more or less an advisor on the board to let you know where you are. You are not your body and you are not your mind. You are above it. That's why in the Kemetic culture, a lot of the symbolisms was God was sitting, like, God is sitting on the throne, or Sarah was sitting on the throne, or, you know what I'm saying? It's symbolisms of you're sitting on this vehicle. The throne is this vehicle, and that's where you sit on. So you're above it. You're not this body. So when we're not fearful, we are experiencing fear in this body. Like, I even changed my language and how I talk. I am never fearful because I only put I in front of who I am. I am Saantis. I am a God man. I am not fearful. I am experiencing fear in this body. And I know when I'm experiencing fear in this body, it is a mechanism to let me know that something's not right. I am not fully prepared, because when I am fully prepared for situations, I'm never fearful.
Right.
I'm only fearful when I'm not prepared. So let me find out why I'm not prepared. And so now I understand that, and I look at fear in that manner. And so I understand, though, that, yeah, I can't be joyful and happy. I can't be successful if fear is there, because if I go into a situation unprepared and knowing I'm unprepared and thinking I'm unprepared, and then thinking that because I'm unprepared, I'm not going to be successful, well, then how can I be successful with that mindset and that train of thought? So that's where, really redefining fear in its place, defining who we are. Like, there's a chapter in the book where I talk about who we are before we get into fear. It's like, who are you? Because like I said, we've been taught to identify with our emotions. We've been taught to identify as our thoughts. Thoughts float in and out your head. You are not your thoughts.
Right.
If you just sit and try to be quiet and still your mind, you'll start feeling all the thoughts floating through your head. You ever been in a room and sometimes you start to feel anger, not because of you're angry, but you can feel the tension in the room.
Yep.
You be like, yo, this room is like something about to pop off. Let me get out of here. So these are like, the way I described it is, your body is like a car. In the car, there's three people in the car. There's your body, your emotions, there's your mind, and then there's you. Now, knowledge itself is understanding your arrangement in the car. Some of us don't realize it, but we sitting in the back seat and the emotions are driving. And the mind is in the passenger seat. Some of us, we in the freaking trunk.
Right,
you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But when we get to a proper understanding of development is when we understand I'm in the driver's seat. And my emotions and my mind are in the back seat. And their job is to help me get to where I need to get to. But their job is not to drive. And when they drive is when there's a problem.
Right.
I'm supposed to be driving because I'm the will. I'm the seer, as they say. And like you said, it tied into that thing with will. Yes, I am the willer. My job is to actually decide and make choice in my life. I'm the chooser. Those things are supposed to help me choose, and how they help me choose and such. So I go through that in the book. And once we get that frame of mind, which is different than what we've been taught in society, then we can move forward. Like, that's more of an Afrocentric Kemetic understanding. Like in the Kemetic teachings, they talk about Heru being the seer, and Sebek and Geb. So the or the Sebek and Heteru, or Sebek, that lower Sahu part of the spirit being where the emotions lie. And then you have the mind area. So it goes through the whole tree. I grew up practicing Kemetic culture. I love it. It's my foundation. And so like those are the things that but the whole point of this book is to keep it non-denominational. Like, I don't want it to be where someone feels like they have to be this or that, but I really want to help all Black people. I want to help all people. I'm not forcing anybody to do anything. Once they see where I come from, if you want to go dive into the Kemetic stuff, you dive into the Kemetic stuff. But our teachings are universal because everybody's using these teachings. Like the law of attraction. That's Oshun. That's you know what I'm saying? So these things that we're seeing nowadays are our teachings being repackaged for the masses. And I'm not angry at it or not anything like that, as long as you give homage.
Right.
But yeah, it's a beautiful thing, man. It's a beautiful thing when you get knowledge yourself, man, because you really can live a life of intention and control. you feel free, because when
Yeah.
you live a life of intention, you're living a life of freedom.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Facts. 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 So here's a question then. Would you be willing to share your book list?
Sure.
Okay. So
Right
we'll talk
now.
to you. No, not right now.
Oh, okay.
I would definitely talk to you about it. 'Cause I need to. I want to go book shopping, and I want to um evolve. It's all about evolving. You know what I'm saying? And like
Yes.
I said,
Yes.
I witnessed your progress. I witnessed your transformation. It's like I said, it's inspiring. And so I want to take the steps that you took. And but I would definitely start with reading your books first and foremost, and
Oh,
then
thank
I
you,
will
man.
go with I would go into the other books where might stimulate or spark um your original message.
Yeah. Well, if you want real quick, I'm gonna just drop like five. I'll drop like five of them real quick.
Okay.
So, for since this is, like you said, an Afrocentric podcast, one of the good ones for me was the 11 Laws of Ma'at by Rahul Nefer. Amen. That's a really good one to really get, the understanding of those, you know, they say deities or Netzeru or Risha,
Mm.
but they're also really psychological profiles. And
Mm.
that's where like I started to look at psychological profiles, because
Hmm.
there are energies within us, and each
Right.
energy has its own psychology or identity or persona, as the word is. So, that's a good book. Another one by Raul Nefron Men is the Meduna Tier one. Um, like I
What is
said,
it?
the courage to be disliked. I have it up there.
Hmm.
There's only one courage to be disliked.
Okay.
You don't have to worry about Googling that. The Way of the Superior Man.
Hmm.
Um, and then if if you're going into like the servant leadership, a book, I tell everybody to read the book, but I for servant leadership, I definitely, but John Maxwell's 21 Laws of Leadership.
Hmm.
And so like those are the books that I like that really shaped, you know, Sandis. And then there's more, like I said,
Mm.
that will book I would
Yeah.
strongly suggest to people.
Yeah. Yeah. That book is amazing. And like I said, I'm at chapter 5 now, and so it's just like it's hard to put
Oh
down.
man.
The thing is, it's just like I'm a father. That's the first enduring, like, people introduce me, they're like, oh, he's business owner, musician, blah blah blah. But no, no, no. It has to be in this order: father, family man, and then you whatever you want to put on after that, put in after that. And so with that, I really try to be present in my children's lives. They're my greatest teachers. And so um it's the only reason why I hasn't blown past that book yet. Like, I got a 2-year-old man who's just very demanding, and but I'm able to experience the father I always wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just going to be real about this, because my children prior, I was the sole breadwinner. And so it was just like I had to
Mm-hmm.
work. So I put them to bed. I'm most times I'm not putting them to bed. So I come in, they sleep, and I leave before they wake up. And so it's like I missed all the first steps. I missed all the first words. I missed all these things, and I thought I was crazy. I'm almost 50, right? And I'm having a baby, starting over again. Like, my oldest is 23, so I'm starting over again. And I thought it was crazy, right? I thought it was absolutely insane. So what is wrong with you? What's going on with you? What are you thinking about, right? But I'm in a space to where I'm able to witness all these things that I always wanted to witness, because I was always bust my ass. I was working, so I'm able to do baths, read bedtime stories, wake up to him, sit down, watch TV. I mean, throw food, and I'm able to, like, potty training, all these things, and all these things that I always wanted to do since I was 12. This is the father that I always wanted to be, and now I'm having the opportunity to do it. And so
That's
I'm
beautiful.
blessed. Right? I'm blessed. And at first I was like, what are you doing? You crazy? I'm looking in the mirror like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, you gonna be raising a child until you're 70 years old. What are you
Like you getting
thinking?
back in the game again?
Right? Right? I'm like, yo, you crazy? What is going on with you? But then that now, 2 years later,
I
I'm
feel
sitting
like
there
that
like,
at
wow.
37.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, I'm like, wow, this is thank you. Thank you for this blessing because this is always the father I wanted to become, wanted to be. And so, yeah, it's so dope, man. It's so dope. So, speaking of that, family, they really being good today because normally he's like pulling on my shirt or something like that, and so he's being really good. My daughter's just holding him down, so I'm really good. I'm really blessed with that. So, my last question is something that I found extremely profound. I always thought this way, but I never had words to articulate it until you dropped the you versus the your ideal self.
Got you. So that's
Speak to
the
that, brother, because this I always felt that way. And like I said, I never looked at other people and be like, oh, I wish I was them. Oh my God, I wish it was whatever. And if I hear people talking about it all the time, and it diminishes their their um their way of quality of life, believe it or not, is because if you wishing to be somebody else, like wishing to have somebody's life, if you comparing yourself to them, then you don't feel yourself worthy of anything unless you're
yes,
matching that, which is could be very taxing health wise.
yes,
Because people think about being unhealthy, they think about being fat, they think about not eating right, they think about drinking and smoking things, and those things play a very huge part. But what's most important than that is how you feel about yourself, the emotional. They say diseases are 83% emotional. I did a push-up
hmm
competition maybe 3 years ago with a guy that was like 85 years old, smoking, drinking. He was smoking and drinking right before we did the whole push-up contest, right? I'm healthy, I'm strong, I got this. We got to like 45 push-ups. I'm feeling the struggle a little bit. He's like going 46, 47, 48. And I'm like, all right, this dude, I'm not losing to this dude. He's older than me. He drinks, he smokes, and everything else. I'm not losing to this dude.
Not at
I
all.
beat him, but barely, bro. Like, barely beat this dude. Like, and I'm thinking he should be able to fall out, and I should be able to knock out another 20 just in spite. Just like, how dare you? How dare you challenge me, right? But then I look at his lifestyle. This dude is happy. He's living his life. He drinking, smoke, whatever the case, but he's happy. And so, yeah, drinking and smoking is not the best. But if you're happy, but then you got somebody who's vegan, who's eating great and things like that, but they depressed and they got a lot of hate in their heart and they spitting ill will at everybody else and they got cancer and they dying from cancer. How is that possible? If you're eating right, you're doing all the physical things, but if you're doing the emotional things, the healing, the loving energy that you were supposed to be doing. So yeah, so when you said that, that kind of when you were speaking on that, I was like, yo, that's so true because that's how I feel. I feel like if I'm the same person I was last year, then I didn't grow. And it's about growing. It's not about matching up um if I could be better than my brother or if I could be the next Michael Jordan or I could be the next billionaire, whatever the case may be. If I'm being the best me possible, then that should be ideal. That should be enough.
Yes. Totally should, man. Totally should. You versus your ideal self is, we have that competitive, that Shango energy within us, right? We have
Hmm.
that Ogun energy within us that's competitive. And that's natural. Yes,
Hmm.
but we're supposed to be competing with self. Like
Hmm.
that's where that came from. We've been confused on who we're competing with. We're not competing, women are not competing with other women.
Hmm.
Men are not competing with other men. Men are not competing with women. Men, black people are not competing with white people. everyone's competing with themselves. Like the
Mm-hmm.
competition is within. It's can you be better, than you were yesterday? Can you're competing with those fears. The fight for freedom that everybody's trying to gain in their life, that even in this world, everybody's freedom is this overly used word. It's used out of context. Everybody's talking about equality and freedom, but they don't really want to get into the proper spiritual understanding of these things.
Mm-hmm.
Freedom comes from when you have discipline over your emotions.
Mm-hmm.
A slave-minded person is a person that does not have control of their emotions. And guess what happens to people who don't have control of their emotions? They're easily manipulatable.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the best books that you hear that they read in politics, like one of the books I've read, I actually like the book, but the 48 Laws of Power. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of people don't like that, but it says a very manipulation book. It's not. You read the
Mm-hmm.
first chapter of the book, and the book talks about this book is for people who have mastered the ability to control their emotions. Because when you can control your emotions, then you have the ability to then manipulate other people.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether for good or bad, that's your path.
Right.
But it's first and foremost controlling self, controlling your emotions. So I tell people this all the time. The key to self control, freedom, to not being victimized, to not being oppressed. And if you look up 26 hexagram in the I Ching, it talks about oppression. And oppression is a state of mind. And it's a state of mind of what? Of not being in control of one's emotions. Because that's when you
Mm-hmm.
can be manipulated.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody can make a situation feel good, so you want to do it, you're with it, or they can make it feel bad and you don't want to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the media and marketing is built off of this concept.
Mm-hmm.
We tell people to live emotionally, live by your emotions, let your emotions guide you. And then now we're able to then manipulate. We give you the right information at the right time to spark whatever emotion we want inside of you so that
Mm-hmm.
then you agree or disagree with the agenda. And so that's how we create freedom in this world. We create freedom in this world not by fighting outside for freedom, but if every human being or the majority of human beings on this earth had discipline and knowledge of self and discipline over their emotions, then no one can move us. It'd be
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, yeah, you can give me a commercial that says if I don't have a Ferrari, I'm a loser, but
Right.
I don't need your Ferrari. I don't care because I don't
Right.
need your validation mechanism. I
Mm-hmm.
define what makes me a loser or a winner.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
So that's where I was talking about competing with self. That validation mechanism is always on you. You validate yourself. What you think about yourself, your perception of yourself is your reality. If you think you're the greatest thing since sliced bread and you go about life that way, then guess what? That's how life is going to show itself to you
Mm-hmm.
because you're creating how you perceive this world. And so that's how it's going to be. If you don't think of yourself as that, you think of yourself as I'm a victim of circumstance, then guess what? Every circumstance you get in is going to validate that idea that you have. And then you're going to go, see, that's, I told you.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I tell
Mm-hmm.
people that. It's people think the mindset comes after the situation happens. And no, the situations in our lives are direct correlations of the mindset we already had. So if
Mm-hmm.
I think women are no good, guess what's going to give me? My perception is going to give me a reality of no good women that then I can go,
Mm-hmm.
see,
Mm-hmm.
see.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's how it works. So it's understanding that stuff. And then, okay, now that I understand that, it's only me. It's all about me and how I see myself and who I'm competing with me to be a better me. And I keep growing and growing and growing. And now I've eliminated that validation mechanism. I've eliminated other people defining what makes me a man, what makes me
Mm-hmm.
happy, what makes me
Mm-hmm.
successful. It's all
Mm-hmm.
these people defining the things that we hold dear, the things that matter, success. And when I say success, I mean the accomplishing the things that you put in front of you,
Right.
not the world put in front of you, you put in front of you. Happiness is living a life of peace and joy and as minimal pain as possible. Living a fearless life, a life that is authentic, intentional, you know, full of, like I said, happiness and joy. Those are the things that matter. And when we define those things, then we are in control of our life, and we can never be let down because we control our lives. It's in our hands. But when we do it the other way, in the validation, the hierarchical systems, it's in somebody else's hands. They tell you whether you made something of yourself. They tell you if you were successful. They tell you if you were good. They're the gatekeeper. They open the door and close the door and let you in and let you out when you want. When nah, I released that. That was my last 5 years. I released those. I'm done. It's just me and God. And if God's okay with it, I'm okay with it. And the people that want to be okay with it, I'm happy for you. And the people that don't want to be okay with it, I'm happy for you too. I'm not for everybody. I'm not trying
Right.
to be for everybody anymore. I'm just trying to
Right.
be for God. Do my part. I came here with a role. Do my role. When it's time to go, it's time to go.
There you go. So what would you say to a person that says, um, the white man is holding me back? What would you say to a racist, oppressive system that's in place to keep us downtrodden and hopeless?
So when I say this, it does not ignore the realities of what transpired. And I say this all the time. Um, being ignorant, starting out ignorant might not have been your fault. It might not have been your responsibility, right?
Mhm.
But continuing to be ignorant is your responsibility.
Mhm.
So take that same principle and apply it here. Yes, this system has created mechanisms that we can't deny that if you want to call this a race, which is not, but if you want to call it a race, that we're starting out, we started after the gunfire. People got head starts. People got opportunity to train with better trainers before the race. All of that, whatever way you want to describe it, that there were people who had more opportunity, resources, and blah, blah, blah to start, and other people don't. That is true. I'm not denying that. I'm not saying that that's something we made up. What I'm saying is how we started, just like as a kid, your parents might have gave you some bad cards. They might have feed you Cheetos and tacos, with red number 4 in it and Kool-Aid. And so you grew up with this jacked up, nervous system. So, but guess what? We're adults now, right?
Mhm.
And as adults, the transition from childhood to adulthood is literally the accountability and responsibility for your thoughts, feelings, and actions.
Mhm.
Your parents had it when you were a child, they were responsible for you. Now you're responsible for you. And as an adult, it is our job as adults in this society to be responsible for our thoughts, feelings, and actions. And so if we look at the oppressive mechanism, it's not forced anymore in the sense of no one's forcing us to still spend. Right now, what they just said, I saw an article, Black people are still the highest spending race of people in the United States at something like
1.9 trillion.
1.9 trillion. They're
Yeah.
not forcing us to go buy Gucci. We're the number one buyers of some of these brands that don't give a hot damn about us. We're
Mhm.
the highest number of buyers of Mercedes and BMWs. Why? I've never heard BMW or Mercedes ever make a foundation for any Black cause.
Mhm.
So that's where I'm saying is about stop looking at how this situation started and who started the situation. Let's start looking at who is continuing to keep the situation going, and that's us. And we're empowered. Like when I say this, I'm not saying this as like coming down on people like you're horrible. No, I'm saying it from a place of power. When you take accountability, because I say this all the time, accountability and power go hand in hand. There's no situation in life where you can say you got power in it, but you ain't got no accountability. So when you
Mhm.
take accountability, you are giving yourself power. So when I'm saying is like we have the power to fix this. We're not impotent. Don't let them make, because if we keep blaming them, then we're giving them the power. We're saying the only way this can get fixed is through them. And that's why you
Mhm.
see our mechanism of trying to fix stuff is always begging them to change, asking
Mhm.
them to do different, asking them to get a heart or some type of conscience. When no, we need to get the discipline to we only spending with people who have our best interests in mind. We are going to take the time to educate ourselves on the law, on finances, on education, on all the things that matter. We are going to take a conscious effort to those stores in our community that sell crap. Don't buy nothing from them. Let that store die,
Mm-hmm.
or that store will start to put the stuff in there that we want. It's
Mm-hmm.
simple. In a capitalistic system, your money talks. And so our money is saying something different than what we're saying. Our mouths are saying we want justice. Our money's not saying we want justice.
Right.
So that's how we change it. We change it by putting our money where our mouth is, like they say. But what does that mean? If our mouths are saying we want justice, we want freedom, we want respect, then guess what? Our money should say the same thing.
Okay. All right. You heard it here. Um, this is something, and this is why I
Mm-hmm.
we
You talking?
created
I
this.
just dropped something.
This is why we created this platform, the way we can have a fertile ground for um, talk and reprogramming and reconditioning.
Mm-hmm.
We have been indoctrinated with this inferiority complex, and it's just time to break that. It's just really time to break that. And so, brother, I really thank you for spending the time with us. I apologize
I'm
for
so blessed, man. Thank you.
the delay, but it was worth it. You know what I'm saying? And anybody who witnessed this exchange got some jewels and got some work to do. So, any projects or upcoming works you want to put out there?
Tomorrow it's going down.
Okay.
Crystal Success. So this is my second book that's coming out. It launches tomorrow. This is the first book. Happiness is an inside job. Um, I'm tempted to drop another book by the summer, but I'm gonna just keep that
Hey,
under
Paul.
wraps.
Great, Paul.
Listen, I don't know I don't know when I'm gonna go, so I
Right.
can't be procrastination is not my vocabulary no more. So
Mm,
live like tomorrow's not promised. That's fearless. Live like
yeah.
tomorrow's not promised. So don't put nothing off for tomorrow. Do it today. So these are the
So,
two. This comes out tomorrow. It's a book about crystals and using crystals with spiritual systems. I studied a bunch of spiritual systems and put them in here, and using the spiritual systems with the crystals, or just if you just use crystals in general, using astrology, because astrology is part of crystal understanding. Um, Energy. There's a lot of different base, chromotherapy, which is sorry about that.
mhm,
Chromotherapy, which is the study of colors. So just getting that understanding and tie it all together, because it's not different. It's all the same. It's just different languages are the same. It's like how Spanish, Portuguese, and
mhm,
French are all Latin. So I'm
mhm,
just reconnecting the languages so that you get the Latin of crystals. So that's really what this is about, and I have a second one coming next year.
nice.
It's going to be more or less a crystal encyclopedia book.
So, is this like a launch? You having a launch somewhere physically, or is it just online?
Online, I guess I could have a launch now physically, since they're allowing more people to do physical things. So I could get into that.
Okay. All right. So, let me know, and I will
Maybe I
let.
could do a book party here. I'm down with it. I would love for you if you want to host it. I would love to, man.
All right, then make
We
that
can go
happen.
just talk about this book the whole hour.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. All right.
I
So
get you a
I'm gonna put
copy.
that down. I'm gonna put that down. Um, yeah. So, where can people find you?
Okay, so you can find me online. Um, Let me show you my website. Hold on. The website is SFD Wellness.
Hmm.
Do you want me to type it in the chat?
Yeah. That in the chat.
sfdwellness.weebly.com.
Yeah. That way I can have it as well.
All right, so
Um,
I'll put it in the thing. Give me 2 seconds.
mhm.
Um,
So while you do that, you have any closing remarks?
I like to thank you for having me, man.
Mhm.
Thank you for sharing this information. Allowing me to share this information. And yeah, man, I just like the main thing I just tell people is try to create a life of fearless, intentional living. You want to live with intent.
Mm.
You know, a free lifestyle, a lifestyle where you are 100% in control of your thoughts, feelings, and actions. And when you get to that point or start to taste it, you'll see it's so satisfying. It's nothing more
Man,
satisfying than living a free, intentional, accountable, responsible lifestyle.
I can't even say anything behind that. If you have show ideas, topics, resources that can assist this movement, email me at Farugh1973 at yahoo.com. If you found value in this presentation, please give me to BMa'at Inc. at Cash App. The information usually is on the ticker, but you always hit me up 215-459-5262. And just continue to support this program is totally funded by you and your generosity. And so I thank you. This is the end of the show. I always try to end the segment with something positive, and I want to really put the slogan out there now. Be my art and become a master of life. Till next time. Peace.
Oba Koso Olufira, Oba Hebioso, Arara, Oba Shango.
Baba Tahir, last name RBG. For the next 20 years, they gon' follow me. Way too humble at times, biters be banking on it. Now I'm thinking on it when I cut on the beat. And the verse starts spilling like a rooster at bar. I used to set off the cipher, now the hype is discreet. Praying I would give it up. Yeah, I'm hip to your wishes. Hatred's a sickness and I can detect it without speech, hater. More flavors and some now laters. Small country town invader, profound, powerful innovator. Stay on the road like a Winnebago racing at Talladega. I made your alley traders like a skater would. How I'm doing, I'ma say I'm good. Even if I wasn't, I'd never admit it. I'm seasoned and gifted and black. Every rap got apps getting you lifted. Classic flowetry, picturesque with it, so vivid, homie, you know it's me. Who else sound like liquid gold and killing shows, repping for the indigos? Priests, priestesses, and practitioners. Marathon finishers, jealous heart diminishes. You think I'm braggadocious with it cause you bogus. Get it only when it's given to you cause it ain't living through you.